Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear students, Assalamu alaikum. I hope you will find enough with the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I pray for your good health, your security, and for all of the good for you. Today, we have to discuss about the remaining components of benchmarking in total quality management and education. With you as Dr. Ijaz and Tatlah, and it's our last session on this topic. Earlier in two sessions, we have defined this benchmarking from different aspects and its reasons and some steps taken into this process. Some of the things are repeated over here. I think so. I will go for them. In the new concept and new remaining component will be discussed in detail. So keep in mind where you are not clear about the concept, where you want to ask some question or have any query, keep pen and paper with you, write your question, and finally you may put these question or pose these question in the chatting at Google Classroom. Our second option is this. During lecture, you may also write your questions, and I will be here to respond to you. So, as I earlier said that different of the components we have already discussed, but remaining we are going to consider in detail because it's a heavy title and is needed to be discussed each and every components to clarify this. For instance, if I say here from this diagram, what we can understand that what the need, why benchmarking is needed. So you may see here from a lower step, from the stepping stone, there is the achievement of a hallmark at the highest point. So initial step is the stepping stone, and target is the last one stage. So moving from where we are to where we want to be is basically a sense of benchmarking. If we go to understand its concept, you can see here two diagrams. You may see in the left one where written your, and then there is company A, B, C, D. So wanted to reach at the arrowhead place, that is the company A, because they are the competitors. So to reach at that stage, the existing stage of the company needed to know about what shortcomings, what deficiencies are there. So by removing those deficiencies, they do collect data. They do have some different types of information about the rivals in the market, in the industry, and they review and revise their process and plan and execute and finally achieve that target. If in pie chart you may see here the company P, company Q, R, S, and so. So P is the target that have a major share in the pie chart. So the others have to go through different procedures and processes. So they have to highlight, they have to know about the things and know about the practices, outstanding practices prevailing in the market to know about that. Actually, this is the uh, benchmarking. Uh, Following are the questions. To reply these questions, organizations lead benchmarking. First of all, they consider where are others better, why are others better, how are others better, what can we learn, how can we catch up, how can we become the best in our industry. So, to why, when, where, how, what, from starting from these ideology, this philosophy makes the people able to reach the required target, to achieve the required target. So they have to make things uh, and learn, go through the different procedures and informations and the latest occurrences in the surrounding. Actually, if we go for some operational definition of benchmarking, so it is a structured technique basically where people learn from others and focus on the external and make improvement, not evaluation. So to make improvement in themselves, they focus on external circumstances and the situations and make comparison business processes, not only performance by years. So quality, performances, processes are taken into consideration. That's why it's a structured technique which go through for different of the phases. If we take an example from industry, in this graph you can see it's very clear that active benchmarks are at every 20%. So from starting from 0% to 100%, there are different benchmarks that put people into required potential and they stand at their targets. So services and retailing, you may see it have almost 25% achievement. Financial services, manufacturing, government, mean governance, education mean training and qualification, health availability and health provision, and then utilities. So on the basis of these benchmarks, industries uh, consider them for their value performance. So these active benchmarks are utilities are at highest level, that around 90, and health is also about 95, and then education, governance, and so and so. So the important features of benchmarking are discover the performance gaps between one's own processes and other leading firms who have a good repute are at the number one at the highest peak in the uh, market. Incorporate leading firms' processes into one's own strategy to fill the gaps and improve performance. So both of the features make people active towards know about the uh, peer industries, peer institutes, or rival institutes in the market. Here are the core competencies needed to be discovered for purposeful benchmarking. So to have some purposeful and valuable benchmarking, these competencies are needed to be considered. For example, uh, competitive advantage gained through core competencies, strategic competitiveness, above average return, discovering core competency, जिसमें further इनकी तो utilizations हैं, criteria of sustainable advantages and value chain analysis, where for criteria sustainability में देखा क्या जाता है कि valuable हो, rare हो, costly, to imitate, no substitutable. These are the outside competencies, outsource competencies. Core competencies are the sources of competitive advantages, capabilities of team and resources. And resources should be both of the types, tangible and intangible. So these uh, core competencies are needed to be kept in mind while making benchmarking for your own organization, for your own firm, when it is compared with the other, and have to seek some differences and identify gaps. So to fill those gaps, data is needed to be collected. That is the benchmarking basically. That is highlighted through the benchmarking. Commonly benchmarked performance by years. So common measures used for benchmarking are financial ratios, productivity ratios, customer level results, operating results, human resource measures, quality measures, market share data, and structural measures. So all these ratio measures are necessarily needed to be uh, uh, kept into consideration regarding the performance of the benchmarking. These are the hallmarks on the basis of which benchmarking is being done. So benchmarking is a more efficient way to make improvements. That's why managers can eliminate trial and error. That is why benchmarking की जाती है. It speeds up the organization's ability to make improvements. Today, time is of essence. Benchmarking has the ability to bring your performance up as a whole significantly. The performance of the organization as a whole. Learn from other experiences, set realistic but ambitious targets. So realistic mean based on the resources and your capital, uh, you go for set targets and try to achieve. That's why the benchmarking is adopted. Basically, it's performance improvement. It's for performance improvement. It also provide the creative thinking. Through benchmarking, the managers and the workers of the organization keep pace with the science and technology changes. They do meet customers' expectations. They have to meet the customer expectations, so benchmarking is needed. It is the necessity to know about what is going on in the market and currency novelty of the production and its standards are needed to be known to make their own up to mark. So benchmarking also provides the opportunity to cope with the competitive markets, innovation and management methods, and for good governance, like benchmarking is very necessary because there are different prevailing practices, different governance models. So which one model is more fit towards better performances? For this purpose, it is also connected. Meeting quality standards. The dire need of any of the organization, of the firm, of the industry is to meet the quality standards. That is the customer's satisfaction. So uh, it is impossible without benchmarking. It provides the basic data towards these prevailing quality standards. So the major advantages of marking are product and process involvement, time and cost reduction, and competitive strategies. In previous session, I have discussed all these three in detail. Best practice overlap. If we see here the competitive, internal, and functional uh, components of the benchmarking. So here is a place that is the best practice overlap. All three components have some common area. So that is the benchmarking. That is the best practice. As we see competitive industry leaders, top performance with similar operating characteristics, and where internal top performance within the company, top facilities within the company, and functional are top performance regardless of industry, and aggressive innovators utilizing new technology. So इन तीनों में से जो common practices होंगी overlapping space जो center में वो smart है, that will be the best price overlap. The process of benchmarking uh, is comprised of the 5 phases. First phase is the planning phase, then analyzing, then integration, action, and maturity. Here in planning phase, there are the three sub-components. That is, first of all, what we have to do is identify what to be benchmarked, and then identify comparative companies, and then to determine data collection method and collect data. Afterwards, in the phase of analysis, it is to determine current performance of the organization or to identify the gap uh, to fill that for which further process is done. Project future performance levels. These are the two analysis process, and similarly for integration process are also two components involved. Communication and gain acceptance and establish the uh, functional goals, and then is the action, or then is the maturity level. So if we see, there are most used types of benchmarking are internal and external, where competitive, functional, and generic uh, are the subcomponents of external. So in detail, the competitive benchmarking, functional, collaborative, financial, we have already discussed in the previous session. This time I would like to share with you the simple methodology for effective benchmarking. That is, in the first step, identify what to benchmark and determine what to measure. And then identify who to benchmark. Then collect data, analyze the data, and determine the performance gap. After identification of that performance gap, we have set the goals and develop an action plan and implement that plan, and then monitor or recalibrate or recycle the process till the achievement of the. It is continuous ongoing process. It doesn't stop at any stage because जब तक दुनिया कायम है ये इम्प्रूवमेंट होती रहनी है, चीज़ों की ज़रूरत रहनी है और उसमें डेवलपमेंट होती रहनी है। अगेन the process of benchmarking in a nutshell is first of all uh, they, uh, put into practice the planning, then analyze the integration है, and take action and then maturity. So as we have discussed in detail, I would like to go for some new concept. These detailed slides are for you to read yourselves because earlier in the previous lecture I have discussed them, but there was some short written material. It's for your convenience, for deep reading this. Maturity model was missing there, so I would like to discuss here the maturity model. Having some standards by which to measure an organization can assess its own level in the maturity model. This may be done internally by benchmarking with other companies or with the help of a consulting firm. A gap analysis can then help identify what critical action needs to be progressed within the business. After communicating the findings to other in the company and getting buy-in to fix the gap, the organization can lay out a roadmap of how to advance to the next level and work toward getting there. One thing I would like to share with you, the slides I skipped. I remind you in the previous session in detail all these five phases I have discussed. But here these are written in detail for sharing a written material with you. You may ask that here in recording, these are not clear to you and have been skipped swiftly. I am going to share this actual uh, PowerPoint presentation to you. Other than this recording, you may access that in my from Google Drive, or I will upload it in the Google Classroom. So for your convenience, it is there. You may go through for your own understanding and confidence. Maturity is an indication of how close a developing process is to being complete and capable of continuous improvement through quantitative measure and feedback. So it's the level. Maturity is a level to which the continuous improvement as quantitative measure and feedback is added there to understand the capability of the organization of the or the individuals as well. So here in this diagram, to understand the maturity, this model is known as the maturity model. You may see here focus on becoming an over in crossing profile center through a continuous reduction in variation. A continuous reduction in variation, whatever the variations are, उनको minimize करते जाना है, then it will be the value addition, and it will be done through adaptation of six sigmas we learned in the total quality management component, the six sigmas. So initially you can see here the startup mode of current state mapping, little not organizational support. So controlled chaos. Then leadership development होती है और standard work training within the industry होता है और process driven operations, and then project management that consolidated view of performance in time, cost and quality factors with the management awareness, that is focus on the management practices in current process design for uh, of future state. Then it is the mature lean वो place आ जाती है, that is 80-20 waste reduction. It is also 80-20 uh, rule or formula, focus on waste reduction and bottom line impact, process sustainability, knowledge management, system planning to reach future state. And then there is the value addition, that is focus on becoming an ever increasing profit center through the continuous reduction in variation, that is through rapid deployment, struggle engagement, strategic engagement, and establishment of new revenue generation services and development of innovative business process. So horizontally are the inputs and are the standards, and vertically are the inputs. When they interact with each other, you may see that is the straight line. So this is the maturity model. Here we see some more about this model. Improvement project selection. It's a cycle, you can see. For improvement project selection, what is being done? Identify the process maturity level. If roadblock visible, what is there? Lack of motivation and leadership. So if there is lack of motivation and leadership, then it cannot be moved towards the core process or major support process. Then what done? After provision of this change management approach. So लीडरशिप या मैनेजमेंट की जो अप्रोच और विजन है उसमें कुछ चेंज आती है, तब्दीली आती है, या फिर क्या होता है कि जब कोर प्रोसेस में जो सपोर्ट अवेलेबल ना हो तो इम्प्रूवमेंट प्रोजेक्ट मैच्योरिटी लेवल क्लास 1 and then go for again improvement project selection and so on. It's an ongoing process. There are the 5 levels of maturity modeling for quality management. First of all, launch. This is the starting point, wherein an initial few visionaries in the organization launch Six Sigma. Training is initiated and projects are begun. That is about some Jiran, I think so. But anyway, at the time of beginning of the projects, there is launch of Six Sigma in the organization and trainings are initiated. Early success. The initial projects are yielding results and early successes are being achieved. Then scale and replication. The early success has led to the other parts of the organization buying into Six Sigma, and a broader launch of projects is underway. Afterwards, institutionalization. Throughout many parts of the company, projects are yielding broad-based financial impact that are institutionalized. Then there is the culture transformation. Six Sigma is part of the organizational DNA. Financial impact is sustained and the Six Sigma culture is pervasive. Even beyond the Six Sigma, practitioners and beyond the company boundaries. So the five levels of maturity model in total quality management prevailing in the industry can be replicated in the system of education. Whatever the project, whatever the new uh, program is needed to be launched for that, trainings are also initiated, and with after by doing this there are some early successes, and then there is scale and replication again for its maturity and realized finally and culture transformation. So finally, the benchmarking and total quality management in education has been finished. You may write whatever you want to ask, and you, if you do have some queries or questions, it will be responded. Thank you. Take care. Allah Hafiz.